Hello and welcome back to another video on the JJ Think Tank. I hope you're doing well this morning, or in the afternoon, or in the evening. Obviously it depends when you are watching this. Today I want to talk about a few random thoughts of mine that I put down on paper. So this is a collection of thoughts that I accumulated over the last few weeks. But these thoughts really are a summary of a lifetime of experience that I've gained so far. And I think these thoughts will help a lot of people out there not to make the same mistakes as I did during my life so far. Obviously, I'm a human. I've made many mistakes in my life. I've committed many sins. And obviously we, as humans, we learn from our mistakes and we try to become better people. And since humans are flawed creatures, we have original sin, as the Bible talks about and says. Humans are tainted with original sin, and therefore, if I relate this thought of mine to my previous video, it means that this anarchical system that many thinkers promote is not realistic. It's not realistic because conflict is an inherent part of human nature, and we can't produce a utopia here on Earth. And this is why I'm starting to despise thinkers like David Ike and others like him, because they sell a false vision. They are gnostics, sophists, who ultimately try to control and manipulate the minds of other people to follow their false worldview. And this is one of the thoughts that I will include in my video. So you have to beware of sophists, of gnostics in the alternative space, because they distort reality so much that they prevent you from taking action. And yes, so the title of my article is this: a few aphorisms, maxims and truisms. And I'll just like to go through them with you today and see what happens, really. So, what I've learnt along my journey. The first aphorism, the first truism: not everything mainstream is bad. So, since the advent of the internet, everything associated with the mainstream has been marked with a tinge of suspicion and animosity, as it is viewed to be a part of a coercive structure that hides the truth. Now, obviously, to a degree, I would agree. The mainstream media, they can hide the truth. That is true. It's better not to watch TV. Personally, I haven't watched TV for at least a decade now, over a decade. When I was younger, as a child and as a teenager, I watched TV with my family, on some occasions, briefly. Not all the time, obviously, but it was a way for us to bond, for our family to bond, and to be a cohesive whole. So we watched various programs on TV, such as X Factor, Channel 4 News, etc. Yes. And of course, when it comes to political events, when it comes to topics regarding the economy of various states and countries, when it comes to history, then yes, it's true that the mainstream media can hide a lot of truth. Yes. Now the new mainstream media is the alternative media. So we've got Twitter, we've got YouTube, we've got thinkers from various backgrounds. And some of them are worth listening to because they are still grounded in reality, yes? But then there are a lot of thinkers who go too far down the rabbit hole, in my opinion. They enter this world of conspiracy, and they have this paranoid mind. They have the mind of a paranoid man, and therefore they aren't able to think logically, and since they aren't able to think logically, they can't think consistently, and so they don't have a coherent worldview. And this is why you need to beware of such thinkers like David Ike. He's a sophist. He is a prime example of a sophist. There's many more. I've come across many other sophists and gnostics, all these type of people. They deny Jesus. They deny the divinity of Jesus. They deny the fact that Jesus rose from the dead. And whenever someone rejects Jesus, whenever someone rejects the fact that Jesus rose from the dead, I automatically question this person, this thinker. To be honest, I mean, this is a rule that I use. Perhaps I'm wrong in this, but so far it has served me very well in life. And because I adopt this rule, I become ever more rational. My insights are more accurate, and my intuition in general is correct. Obviously, I make mistakes, but I'm definitely on the right path. So trust me, guys. Not everything mainstream is bad. You can find a lot of books in the mainstream that help you. A lot of mainstream thinkers that will help you. So I guess the new mainstream would be people like Russell Brand, Jordan Peterson. When we think of the Anglosphere, yes. So Russell Brand, Jordan Peterson, AJ from the alternative media website, yes, that cannot be named, Lord Voldemort, yes, AJ. David Ike, I guess, to a degree, but then he's a sophist, so you need to beware. Who else? We've got loads, yes, Yanis Varoufakis, Hajun Chang. We've got loads of thinkers, yes. So this is what I mean by saying that not everything mainstream is bad. A lot of the people associated with the mainstream are good people, and they want the best as well for humanity and for our society. So just because they're associated with some institution or some mainstream, media organization, it doesn't mean that they're bad and they're hiding the truth, yes? A lot of mainstream books, yes, are helpful. So obviously you can find on my YouTube various books that I share that have made an impact on me. I obviously read books also that are not really mainstream, but then I'm wary, yes, because a lot of people, they start calling themselves experts. They think they know everything. And then they create this world of conspiracy that is divorced from reality, basically. So this is the first aphorism and the first truism, yes, that I wrote down here. The next one is every act of overcoming adds up. So I wrote down here, just like a heap of sand eventually collapses after one more single grain is added, so too should we approach life, where every act of overcoming brings us closer to a breakthrough. And this is true. We need to constantly overcome our fears, our anxieties. We need to trust the process. We need to have faith in God. And we need to hope that eventually everything will work out. Yes? And linked with this is obviously the idea that we should try. Better to try and fail than to not try at all and regret afterwards. So yes, this is my second maxim, my truism and aphorism that I've noticed in my life. And well, by noticing, I mean I've noticed that it's true. Yes, whenever I have achieved a small win, it it boosts my mental health, and and therefore I'm healthier. Yes, I'm healthier. I'm not ruled by anxiety, by fear, because this is the worst thing. Obviously, you can't be ruled by fear. You have to overcome your fears slowly but surely, and hope that everything will work out. Now the next one. Now this will be controversial. This will be controversial because I guess here there might be some inconsistency on my part, because I said I'm a Christian, but then at the same time, I don't think there will be this end to the world. There is no end to the world. This is what I wrote down. I think this because this apocalyptic thinking, it ultimately paralyzes the mind. It increases your level of fear, and you actually don't take action. And when you don't take action, your life gets worse. Because if you think, oh, the end of the world is coming, it doesn't matter, nothing matters, anything goes, yes, this kind of mentality, kind of nihilistic mentality, in the long run, it's a bad mentality to adopt, and you have to counteract this, really. We don't know when the world will end. This is up to God, really. We don't know. We need to assume that the world will carry on as it is, that life will get better, and so yes, if we adopt a counter mentality, paradoxically our life improves. This is what I noticed in my life. I was stuck in this nihilistic mentality for a while, where I didn't really take too much responsibility, because I thought, it doesn't. This world is so messed up. Why should I try? Why should I try? Why should I try and do anything? Why should I try and achieve success if it doesn't really matter? But then over time I noticed, no, this is wrong. This is wrong. You can make an impact on the world. You need to take action. You need to overcome your fears, and it's bad for your mental health to fall into this apocalyptic type thinking. And this is where H.P. Lovecraft comes in. So this is my view, my opinion. H.P. Lovecraft, he is a funny writer, really. It's a cosmic horror, but for me, there's a lot of humor in there. He was a humoristic, we could say, humoristic writer. Yes. I don't know if that's a word in English, but it's cosmic horror because it's funny. It kind of extinguishes and dispels this sense of doom and horror at the cosmos. You learn to laugh at the horror of the cosmos, at the fact that we're surrounded by black space, by the infinity of black space, and it's beautiful, really. It's beautiful. I mean, H.P. Lovecraft for me is a genius, I think, and I mean, in some senses he's correct. In some sense he's correct. Yes, it's us humanity against the capriciousness of nature and the cosmos. There is some truth to this worldview. And this is why it's important to read atheists as well, because they offer a different perspective that can sharpen your thinking. And obviously this goes back to my first maxim, truism, about no one having a monopoly on truth. The best strategy to adopt, from my experience, is to open your mind as much as possible, listen to different points of view, and then come to your own conclusion. Now, the next one. Both liberals and the far right are correct, and that is the paradox. What more can I say? Time will reveal the future. So this is a truism that I reached relatively recently, maybe a year ago. Before I started being more politically minded and thinking about politics, I I obviously never had an opinion on this. I didn't even know who liberals are. I didn't know what is liberalism. I didn't know what the far right is. I didn't understand these terms because I wasn't interested in politics. But since I started my interest in politics, since I began studying politics, etc., initially I was definitely on a part of the far right. I adopted their worldview. But then I noticed some problems with the worldview of the far right. So the far right, they tend to be pagan. So they don't believe in Christianity. They don't believe in the divinity of Christ. This paganism it leads to a form of racism, and this is not good in my opinion. So therefore, I changed my view slightly. I would say right wing, but not far right. If I had to classify myself, yes. Obviously, sometimes it's wrong to label yourself, because when you label yourself, you kind of restrict yourself and you define yourself, and then people are able to attack your worldview, and they try to put you into a box, yes. So also, I don't like to label myself all the time, which is why perhaps as I get older, I'm becoming less political. I'm becoming more apolitical. So let's see what apolitical means. Let's check the definition. Apolitical. Apolitical means having no interest, involvement, or association with political affairs, parties, or ideologies. Neutral, unbiased position, or an aversion to politics. Now, I kind of have this more now. I'm not so engaged in politics because I like to obviously read books about other topics such as philosophy, theology, etc. So I'm not only politically minded, I approach reality from other angles. And this is why it led me to this view that both liberals and the far right are correct. Because I started thinking about liberals, about their position, and on many occasions I do agree with them as well. I have to say, I do agree with some positions that liberals hold. And therefore I've got this dissonance in my mind. I've got this split mind where I'm struggling to I guess, unify these two worldviews into one coherent whole. Which means that perhaps there is no solution. There is no political solution. Perhaps it means that I am apolitical. But yes, this is a thought of mine that I think everyone should think about, and perhaps you might notice this as well in the future as you get older. The next one, reduce your reliance on music. So everyone loves music. Some people like music a lot and they listen to music all the time. Others less so. But the problem with music, the problem if you listen to too much music is this. Namely that you fall into this neurotic mentality. You become kind of closed off. You fall into your own universe. And when you constantly listen to music, this neurotic side of your personality gets stronger and stronger, because if you think about it, when you listen to music all the time, you constantly get stimulated, and this stimulation it causes an upset in your brain, because it fries your dopamine. You become too stimulated, and therefore you become lost in your own universe. And this is what I noticed as I've grown older. I remember when I was a teenager, when I was very anxious, taking the bus to school, I would listen to music through my earphones. Uh, Whenever I had some free time, whenever I was on my own, I would listen to music. Not all the time, obviously, but I just remember in general that I would listen to music too much, and I think this had a negative impact on me. Which is why I try not to listen to too much music. For many years now, I've slowly reduced this habit. And instead of listening to music, I try to play music. I try to produce music, and this is why I started playing the piano. And I'd like to continue this again in the near future, but at the moment I've got other priorities. But yes, this is a key one. Reduce your reliance on music. Now the next one. Now this is a great one in my opinion. You may hate the ethnic group beginning with J, so we know who we're talking about, yes, but you can't deny their intellect. So the ethnic group beginning with J are nation in exile nomads, and so paradoxically unite and separate the nations of the world. At times criticism is correct, at other times they are targeted since a scapegoat is required. Now this is my reflection. I reached this reflection after reading G.K. Chesterton. So he was an English writer. Catholic English writer, G.K. Chesterton. Who was he? Let's see what AI has to say. Was a prolific English writer, journalist, and philosopher, known for his wit, paradoxes, and staunch defense of Christianity. So he had some interesting views about the ethnic group beginning with J, and I think overall he's right. Of course, there are many bad J's, but also many good J's. They're normal people. You can't put all people into one box, and this is why you should always judge a person by their character, by their deeds, yes, and not by the group they belong to. This is key, obviously. As I've grown older, I've applied this rule to my life. Because you can find good people everywhere. It doesn't matter what their background is. What matters is really if they're human, if they've got a heart, you know, if they got empathy, if they care about the future, if they care about the world. And this is what matters, really. So obviously I could expand on this topic, but you know, I'm already on 22 minutes, so I need to hurry up and share the last few ones that I've got here. The next one, an excessive lone wolf mentality leads nowhere. So unless you want to become a monk mode. So monk mode is a movement in the manosphere where men abstain from any form of relations with the opposite sex, and they become celibate, and they focus on their own life, on their hobbies, etc., on improving themselves. Now, obviously, this is a good process for a while, because when you get lost in the crowd and you don't understand yourself, then you need some time to be on your own to discover your identity, to understand yourself and to know yourself more. So then monk mode, it's a mentality that that helps, yes, in this regard. Being a lone wolf, it does help. But the problem is if you're a lone wolf, if you are a lone wolf for too long, then this also has a negative effect on your mental health. Loneliness is a cause of depression, of anxiety. You need to have some form of interaction with other people. Luckily, I have this because I've got a few sisters. Obviously, I speak with my parents. In general, I have good relationships. A good relationship with both of my parents. I try to keep in touch with my friends. Obviously, here I must say that I've made some mistakes. I've kind of cut myself off from people. But I thought it was necessary. I needed some breathing space. I needed some time to understand myself. I needed to process my trauma, and yes. But then I realized that if you cut yourself off from people, then you actually lose out in the end. It's not healthy for you. So this is why I wrote, only packs survive in the wild. And this is definitely true. It's definitely true. It's dangerous to adopt a lone wolf mentality. Unless you are a genius of some sort who has a mission on his hands. So we can think of thinkers such as Isaac Newton. He was a genius and he was a totally antisocial. But he was a genius, yes. He had a mind, a unique mind, and I guess he was right in doing what he did, yes. We've got Nikola Tesla as well. So there are people who are able to be on their own for extended periods of time. But I'm a bit different. I've noticed that obviously I like to be on my own, but I do need contact with other people, which is why I do socialize as much as I can. If I have some free time. When I walk my dog, I try to speak to people, and yes, this helps definitely. Having a dog, it helps in meeting people, I guess, because when you go for a walk with your dog, naturally, a conversation sometimes begins, yes, between you and the other dog owner. So yes. Anyway, the next point. To overcome your trauma, Venom Mode must be activated. So this is true. I think you know what I mean. By Venom Mode, I'm talking about that raw, animalistic, almost demoniacal mode of being, yes? So, well, when you're working out, yes, when you're in the gym, you need to activate this kind of animalistic side to you in order to lift more weights, in order to overcome your trauma, to process your trauma, to become more in tune with your body. Because when you are more in tune with your body, you are in control and you feel a sense of safety. So this is why when you're trying to overcome your trauma, you have to be prepared, yes, to really push yourself in order to finally boost your mental health. Now the next one. Every worldview has an underlying geopolitical bias. And then I wrote, we are tied to the land, family and nation more than we like to admit to ourselves. Some play the game and try to hide it, others are open and honest. So this is true, definitely. Every thinker out there, if they present themselves as a philosopher or as a humanist, whatever, they all have their underlying biases. Yes, they have a bias for their own people, and this influences their worldview to a degree. And so this is why I wrote down this truism, because I think because you have an underlying bias to your worldview, you prefer your own over other people's. And this is natural, yes. People are not. A man is not an island, yes. A man has ties to his family, to his nation, to the land, yes. Because we are biological creatures. We are not just made from spirit and soul. We also have DNA, etc. And this has an impact on our worldview. Obviously, some people they play the game. They try to hide this. They try to hide this bias, but I think it's better to be honest and say that I put this nation above another. I want to make sure that my nation survives and does not perish. And obviously this is happening now. If anyone's on Twitter, you can tell that people are planting their political flag, and they're showing that they have a geopolitical bias. Now obviously here I would also return to my previous point here about liberals and the far right being correct. It's also dangerous where it's dangerous. Why do I say dangerous? It's dangerous to go too far in promoting your country over another country. Yes, because there's a healthy form of nationalism, patriotism, but then there's also a form of nationalism that doesn't see the humanity in the other, and therefore they start to get this superiority complex, and we know where this leads to. It leads to a destruction and genocide, really. So it's dangerous, yes, it's dangerous. Via diplomacy, via free speech, hopefully we are able to iron out these differences, yes, in our worldviews. Now the next one. Cyborg or human? Better to be a proud Neanderthalian and human, as opposed to a spiritualized cyborgian. Team humanity for me. Now, why did I write this? Well, I wrote this because I've come across so many NPCs, so many people who simply can't think for themselves. And I equate these people to cyborgs. They're cyborgs. I don't feel like a human spirit within them. They're almost like robots sometimes. And this is why I wrote, it's better to be human, a proud human, as opposed to this kind of spiritualized cyborgian. Team humanity for me. And I won't expand on this. I guess this is a bit mysterious, or you might think I'm a bit of a crazy lunatic by saying this, but it's just something that I've noticed. So yes, anyway, the next one. Jesus is real. Jesus is real. Jesus is real. You can reject Jesus. Okay, you can go your own way. But ultimately, God and Jesus will humble you. Pride goeth before the fall. You have to remember that. Pride goeth before the fall. Pride goeth before the fall. Pride comes before a fall. It's a proverb originating from Proverbs 16:18, warning that overconfidence, arrogance, or hubris often leads to failure and misfortune. And this is so true. Jesus is my Lord and Saviour. I know Jesus is real. I believe in Jesus. I simply believe in Jesus. I'd rather pin my hopes on Jesus and be wrong than to not pin my hopes on Jesus and be correct. This is Pascal's wager, obviously. Pascal's wager is a philosophical argument by Blaise Pascal stating that belief in God is the only rational bet. Because reason cannot prove God's existence, one must wager. If God exists, the believer gains infinite happiness, heaven. If not, they lose it little. It advises acting as if one believes to achieve faith. I think this is a brilliant thought. So I've got here Pascal's book somewhere. I can't find it at the moment, but I recommend reading this book by Pascal. Pensées, I think it's called. Pensées. I don't know how to pronounce it in French. Pensées. And it's a great book because it's a collection of fragments. It's accessible to everyone. You don't need to be a genius. You don't have to be a mathematician to ponder over his thoughts, and it's a book that I recommend everyone to read. So So yes, this is why I wrote, deep in our heart of hearts, we know that Jesus is real and that he is our Lord and Saviour. This is just my thought, my experience so far. And I mean, I guess even neuroscience proves that we have an area in our brain that is responsible for religious thinking and for faith, and that people who have faith and have a belief in God and who activate this region of their brain, they tend to live happier and healthier lives. So there's even evidence, scientific evidence for this. So anyway, moving on. Trust your delusions. So for a while, I had a problem with believing in myself. I didn't put myself first. I didn't trust myself. I didn't take on responsibility. And I guess over the long run, this led to frustration and kind of a lack of self-worth. Because I knew I could achieve more, I knew I could do more, but for some reason I just didn't trust myself. I didn't believe in myself. I was hesitant, I was fearful, full of anxiety. But as I've grown older, I've noticed that you need to trust in your delusions and your dreams. As I said previously, it's better to try and fail than to not try at all and regret doubly afterwards. And this is what I wrote here. Better to try and fail than never take action and regret doubly afterwards. So why should we trust our delusions? Because what I've noticed in my life is when you start trusting your delusions and your vision for your life, when you have like a vision for your life, we have a vision for who you want to become, the man you want to become. Even if you don't reach those heights, at least along the way you improve your life, yes? At least your life gets better. And this is what I've noticed. Following my delusions, my passions, my interests, and what I want from life, perhaps I haven't reached the heights yet. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But my mental health is improving. I'm more secure in myself. I have less anxiety. I'm more confident. I'm not arrogant. I wouldn't call myself arrogant because I've never had an arrogant nature, really. I've always struggled with self-esteem, really. But yes, I'm more confident now. And yes, this is why I wrote. Even if you do not achieve your deluded goals, at least your life gets sublimated into a higher form of existence along the way as you try to achieve them. And this is definitely true. It's something that has been confirmed in my life. The next one, forgive your parents. So this is a key one. If you do not forgive your parents, then ultimately your mental health suffers. Now, for a while, I blamed all of my problems on my parents. Not all of my problems, but yes. Because I felt that I wasn't achieving what I should be achieving, because I wasn't taking action, because I wasn't taking on more responsibility, I started to blame my parents. But then I realized that I am the problem. My parents, they love me. They want the best for me, and yes, this is what I wrote. Forgive your parents. They did the best they could in the circumstances, and yeah, now it's up to you really to take up the baton. So if anyone out there, if you have a grudge against your parents, if you have an underlying hatred for your parents, then ultimately I feel for you, because this is not good. You need to forgive your parents, really. Your parents did the best they could. We're all sinners. We all struggle. We all have our problems. Yes, we need to try and improve our lives and work as a team. Really. Obviously, sometimes I still notice this in myself, but when I do, I correct my behavior. I try to control my thoughts and not let this happen. I don't allow these thoughts to reappear. And I realize that I'm the issue sometimes. Yes, I am the issue sometimes. I'm the problem. So the penultimate one. All you have left is sense, affect, and conscience. So, why did I write this? What does this mean? So this aphorism, this truism, is based on my reflections on how to be moral and ethical in the postmodern age. Because we are noticing that a lot of institutions are crumbling around us. The power of the church is weaker. We could argue that the church has lost its sense of authority because of many controversies surrounding it. We notice that society is fragmenting. People are not interacting with each other. People are not talking to each other. There's no sense of community in general, I think. And because of this, in many ways, we are left on our own when it comes to moral and ethical actions. And since we are on our own, it means that our conscience is the only source of morality, ethics, and right action. And this is just my reflection on my life so far. I listen to the voice within. So we all have that silent voice within, our conscience, that tells us what we need to do next, what we need to overcome, etc. And this is why we should follow our conscience, really, most of the time. Obviously, sometimes other people can correct us in our ways and to highlight our negative behavior. But our conscience also is a good guide to right action, to doing the right thing. And we can boost our conscience, we can boost this little voice from within by taking heed of sense and affect. And by this I mean by kind of, in New Age philosophy, it's called raising your vibration. We can raise our vibration by speaking our truth, by living our lives, by being true to ourselves, by being healthy, by leading a healthy lifestyle, etc. And this is just my thought, really, my experience so far in life. Now, the last one is a bit of a strange one. So this is my reflection on this is my philosophical reflection on ontology and the void, and it's linked really to the thought of the German philosopher Schelling. So Schelling was a Friedrich Schelling, F.W.J. Schelling. He was a German philosopher, and he had the concept of the Ungrund, the non-ground or groundless. And this is what AI has to say. So Ungrund is the groundless ground, or the primordial, irrational, and unconscious depth from which all being emerges. And he adopted this idea from Jacob Boehme. So I don't know this philosopher, this thinker. I don't know him, but Schelling says it represents a pre-rational state of absolute indifference or divine chaos, prior to all opposition, which acts as the source for God's existence and the world. So this concept enables freedom and allows for the existence of evil by providing a dark ground in God distinct from his spiritual existence. So this is his interpretation. He views the primordial darkness as being evil. Yes. I'm not sure I agree. Because this ungrund can be changed, can be well, we could say changed into positive action, yes. And since this ungrund is a location of freedom, we can reflect on which path we take. So we can choose freedom for evil ends, or we can choose freedom for the good, because we have free will. And this is why I disagree with Schelling. I don't view this ungrund, this groundless ground, this primordial irrational unconscious depth, as being evil, really, because it's a source of freedom, and it's up to us how we choose to be free. Do we use our freedom for good, or do we use our freedom for evil purposes? And yeah, this is just my reflection, my philosophical reflection. This is probably the most abstract thought, the most abstract truism from my list here. And yes, we need to realize that our unconscious, because we have the conscious mind, the subconscious, and the unconscious. Yes, if we base our thought on Jung, on Carl Jung, on Freud, etc., there is evidence that points to the fact that the unconscious world does exist, and we are all connected via this unconscious world. Our brains are, on some level, all our brains are connected in some sense on the unconscious level. And this unconscious source, this unconscious part of our brain, is the source of our freedom, really. And it depends. We are in charge. I do believe we have free will. We do have freedom. Perhaps not as much as we think we do, but we definitely have some form of free will. If you want to find out more about my views on freedom and free will, I advise you to listen to my video about Slavoj Žižek. So I made a video about the thought of Slavoj Žižek, and in that video I talk about free will and freedom. But yes, the unconscious, it can be a source of great freedom for us. And this made me think that another thought came into my mind, that in a black hole, so in the center, well, apparently in the center of our universe, we have a black hole, based on my reading of physics so far. So I only read popular science books, so I'm not a physicist. I only read popular science books on physics. And based on my understanding so far, I believe the center of our universe is a black hole, yes? And in a black hole, physicists and mathematicians, they don't really understand how these black holes operate. They don't understand the laws of physics there. And I think I'm correct in saying that mathematical formulas begin to break down once we approach a black hole, yes? So this thought of mine popped up when I started thinking about the pre-ontological primordial void, yes, which is how I call it. So yes, that's the last one, and I guess yes, this thought is linked to the unconscious, the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind refers to the vast, inaccessible part of the psyche that operates outside conscious awareness, storing memories, impulses, and motivations that heavily influence behavior. So we can access this unconscious in order to control it to some degree, but not totally, yes. So yes, this is the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found the information valuable. I hope it will help you along your journey as you start to mature and develop as an individual and as a person. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It will help me grow the channel. And yes, if you like the video even more, consider supporting at Buy Me a Coffee. I'll provide the link in the description. And yes, that's all for today. Once again, if you made it this far, thank you for listening. I appreciate it, and all the best.